Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen. Lauren.
What?
That's a different backdrop for you. Where are you?
Is the humidity doing well for my skin, or is it just me? Yes, this is Florida Lauren visiting her parents. You, on the other hand, look greasy and red.
It is humid in New Jersey.
Yeah, no,
I'm a desert rat.
I am in Florida, and we have air conditioning. Like, it's like refrigerators in every single house. So, like, don't talk to me about humidity. I mean, I don't know what's happening over there in that attic.
I'm just trying to do my part for the environment. I feel like I can have my own biological refrigeration system take into effect at some point.
Sure.
But I am a desert rat. I love a dry heat.
You were raised in Arizona, so
I was raised in Arizona.
Yeah.
Lauren, did you ever go to Arizona and see those T-shirts where it's like a skeleton sitting under a cactus with the skeleton saying, "But it's a dry heat"?
It feels like I've seen that. It feels like I've seen that, but I'm not sure.
Grew up. I was the embodiment of those T-shirts.
I know, but I understand it now. Like, I'm spending time here in LA, obviously also a dry heat, and like my skin, it's like, what is going on?
So you're just experiencing it, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I grew up with this, but I forgot. I'm just saying. Oh.
How's your hair, though?
I mean, is that an accusation?
I mean, no, it looks great. But usually people complain about the humidity in their hair, right?
Certainly sounded like an accusation. Certainly. That was a pointed question. That was a leading question.
So does the skin make up for the hair? Does the humidity?
The point is, we're going to get to other conversations right now. And dropping just today was the TIME100 Creators List. And in that list, they sort of separate the categories into titans, entertainers, leaders, phenoms, catalysts. And I'm so excited to say that, like, we didn't know this, but this week on Creator Upload, we have a titan on our podcast. We have a titan, and I'm not just talking about you and I. We have a titan of the creator economy on our podcast, and that is Mr. Dhar Mann. We interviewed him. He's going to be on the podcast today. So excited, and he is listed as one of the titans of the creator economy. Josh, can you believe that? Can you believe that? I mean, look at that.
I think it's not a coincidence. It's fortuitous and was even foretold. I mean, we get great guests on this platform.
I mean, we have
amazing listeners, and obviously the people we have on here are going to be recognized by other sources.
Obviously, some other notable folks on that Titan list. Let's just go through it. Of course, Cenat, Alex Earl, Sean Evans, Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast. Mel Robbins, I thought was she Let Them. Are you familiar with her? Let Them. Are you familiar?
Of course, I'm familiar with Let Them.
Let Them. Joe Rogan, of course, Mark Rober. I'm just seeing if there's anybody else. Rhett and Link, Nick Giovanni, tons of just great people on the list. I think it's also exciting to see Colin and Samir as in the leaders category. So all really exciting. What do you think about this list, Josh?
Lauren, what I think is most interesting about this is Cenat is on the cover. So he's one of a number of titans.
Yes.
But also he's the cover feature story of this, which is a little bit of a trend. I mean, he was on the cover of Billboard magazine in January. He was on a digital cover of Complex back in 2023 and now on the cover of Time magazine, following in the footsteps of Jimmy Donaldson, who's been on the cover of Rolling Stone and Time, all following in the footsteps of PewDiePie, who was on the cover of Variety back in like early 2010s. And he was kind of the first big creator who made a name for himself as what you and I would think of as a creator, in quotes, to grace the cover of a nationally syndicated magazine with extensive readership. It's now cool to see that this happens as a just regular occurrence.
I mean, when I like my first month at Facebook, it was the first time 17 magazine was going to have a creator on the cover, and that was Bethany Moda was on the cover, and that was like a huge deal.
That's awesome.
And it was right before the Streamies that year, if you might recall.
We did a collaboration.
I know, you and I. That was one of our first collaborations, Josh. Yes. And notably, I will never forget that we set up a photo booth, as you do, and it was all the photos were going to go on 17 Magazine's, kind of, their Instagram. And some of the creators, I guess I won't name names, I don't know, refused to, even though they were in the magazine, they refused to do the photos because they, at that time, like, they knew that they were being used, they perceived it that they were being used for their following because they were bigger than 17 magazine. And so they were just like, I've already given you like a lot because I'm in this magazine. You don't pay me to be in your magazine. I'm not going to get you. I'm not going to be on the cover. And in fact, I couldn't actually go to the event. I planned the event. I did everything. I couldn't go to the event. You might not remember this part. I was actually on my honeymoon. It was like a delayed honeymoon. And I woke up in Greece and I went on 17 magazine's, profile to see and there were like so few photos that were actually on their, Instagram. And I freaked out because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. Like we spent what I thought was a lot of money, which relatively speaking was not at this, like whatever. And my boss at the time was just like, we spent a lot more and got a lot less. Like I was like, oh, because I was coming from digital like production. I mean, you spend $5, you better account for that, and this was a lot more than that. So
but then you all totally learned from your experience, and in subsequent photo booths, you just had the creators take it on their own cameras.
So it was hard because we would have professionals. So we took a cue from the Golden Globe, which I'm sure people have seen. They did these beautiful photos, sort of shoots, or I should say photo booths. Is not the right word to say it, but photo experiences backstage of the Golden Globes. So we're like, we want to get a professional photographer and, make it fun and more like, young, if you will, and do like a streamies version of that, which we did. But we wanted to get the photos immediately to the creators so that they could post them. And they loved them because they were fantastic photos because they were professionally done. But it was no small feat getting them the photos because the photographer was like, I want my guy to like touch them up a little bit. It's not like he's just going to give you a raw file. And then even just the transfer of those files, like, so it was like madness, like getting that all done and getting it to them. But yes, it was born out of that. I was like, these creators don't want to put their photos on 17 magazine. They'll take the photos and they'll put them on their own thing.
Yeah, people are still using those as avatars still. You see them on Wikipedia all over the place.
1,000%. There's so many people from those photos. And we did it for what, 3 years at the Streamies, I think?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
And then, and we had fantastic photos.
And what I also like about Cenat being on the cover is that it's well-deserved. He's a hugely influential creator that produces just really incredible stuff. I mean, he streams multiple hours a day, several days a week. But like the promo video for his Streamer University that he launched is just an amazing piece of content in and of itself. So he can captivate the attention of audiences when he's just live streaming, doing a bunch of different things. He is incredibly creative and has surrounded himself with some creative people to produce really compelling VOD pieces of content. And the whole world's starting to wake up to this now. I mean, he invented the word Riz.
Did he really? I don't think I knew that. Yeah,
that's one of his just contributions to the culture. And of course, we recognized him at the Streamy Awards back in 2022.
I mean, Josh, you're nothing if not ahead of your time.
Of course, for sure. But it's cool now for the rest of the world to see him for the incredibly just influential individual that he is. And looking for, this is just a start for him. Yep. Excited to see where he goes.
All right, let's get to one sort of big story that we cannot ignore, which is TikTok is going to debut this fall a US-only app. And so perhaps this is what they've been working on, is like Trump has delayed this, ban. But apparently it's only for users in the US, and the law that forces TikTok to divest from Chinese owners or face a ban only applies in the US, so the company is preparing to sell its US business specifically. The new app is due to launch in US app stores on September 5th. And if it works, the current version of TikTok will be removed from app stores. The existing version will still work for those, until March, but I guess the March of the following year. But TikTok will encourage users in the US to download the new version. So sometime in March 2026, the current version will be shut down in the US. And the idea is that, of course, most people at that point will be on this new app. Now, what we don't know the political ramifications of this. I don't think there's even an official TikTok sort of statement about this. I think this was all leaked. And this was all reported first by Kaya Yuriev at The Information, who said that what we don't know is the company has not responded to meaning the Information's request for comment, and has not put out any public statements on the plans for the new app. So none of this has been like officially recognized, but this is a big scoop and kind of makes sense as to what's going on. So, and also it's unclear as to whether or not this is going to differ from what the current app is, or what this means for the magical Chinese algorithm and all the other things. So Josh, this is semi not surprising. Like they had to figure out something, but is it going to be as good? I don't know. Thoughts?
Two things first. Well, one thing first, Lauren. So according to The Information, ByteDance will divest primary ownership, transferring control to Oracle and other investors, but it won't be completely uninvolved. The publication reports it will retain a minority stake, allowing it to continue profiting from U.S. operations. And honestly, I am surprised by this. I think Trump was just punting the ball over and over again. and then was going to grab the ball, to continue this analogy, to benefit whatever political situation he was in at any given time, and then continue to punt it over and over and over again. So I am surprised that there might be some actual finish line in sight here for this. I mean, if we just go back through the basic timeline, in December 2024, the TikTok ban was looming and the incoming Trump administration was asking for a delay. Then on January 18th, the TikTok app briefly went offline with this dramatic messaging, and it was removed from U.S. app stores. January 20th, on his first day in office, Trump signed an executive order giving TikTok 75 additional days to find a U.S. owner. Mid-February, TikTok returned to U.S. app stores. In March, the Trump tariffs kicked in, then thinking maybe a deal wouldn't be reached. June 17th, Trump admin announced it will extend the TikTok ban once again. And then July 4th, Trump tells reporters on Air Force One that the deal is close to being clinched.
Don't you think this is what he meant by the deal?
Yes, of course, I think this is the deal he's referring to. But he's basically said they've been close to a deal before, just not in this, maybe not in this same type of conviction.
The only thing that is unknown is if they can move all these folks over. Like, I mean, if there's one thing that TikTok has been really good at, it's messaging, to your point, when they were down for one day and they were like, call your reps and do all these things. And these people are very passionate about their TikTok. So we'll see. There's going to be some drop off, obviously, and folks might end up going. I think this is going to be, obviously, knowing these dates too. It's a big opportunity for other platforms to court these creators and talk about all the monetization they can receive on platforms like YouTube. So I have to imagine that strategy is being put into place now, knowing roughly these sort of dates that are happening.
It's got to be fun for the strategic individuals at YouTube and Instagram who are tasked with getting these creators on board. Yeah,
for sure.
This is their one last big shot, potentially.
Game on, man. We need to get to our interview with Dhar Mann.
So excited to have Dhar Mann on the podcast. Again, a newly named titan.
We have a titan
of the creator economy and online video industry. He's been at it for a while. He launched his main channel in 2018, started off, I don't know if you know this one. He started off doing just these inspirational videos.
I mean, I did my research, so I do know that. Thank you. I'm assuming that was a rhetorical question. Go on.
And then morphed into this narrative storytelling with a just ethical, positive message. It's really resonated with viewers. He's done thousands of videos now. On his main channel, he has over 25 million subscribers with more than 18 billion views. He's getting a couple 100 million views a month on that channel alone. Across all of YouTube and all of the other social networks that Dhar's on, he's getting in the billions in terms of long form viewership a month. So excited we had an opportunity to talk with him, and just is, I think, a really kind of platonic example of what creators who reach his magnitude of success can do in order to transform their business for the future.
Dhar Mann, welcome to Creator Upload. We're so excited to have you here.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Hey, Josh. I'm super excited to be here, too.
Oh, my God.
Very stoked to see you.
So we are catching you in such an amazing, awesome, cool time in the evolution of sort of Dhar Mann Industries, for lack of a better word. So I want to sort of, you started in 2018. You've built this massive kind of channel, many channels, infrastructure. You've got sound stages. People kind of know that. I want to talk about what's sort of going on right now. Recently you brought in a CEO and you sort of stepped away from that position. Sean Atkins, who I worked with at Jelly Smack, who I think is amazing. But that's a really hard thing to do as a founder. I read something a while ago that sort of said something about how founder CEOs are usually good for the first 5 years of a company, from zero to product market fit. And then the skill set required to take it to the next level is a totally different skill set. And most people, though, don't not walk away, but step that and give somebody else that responsibility. And you did. And I think that's so kind of awesome and amazing, and says a lot about you. So I'd love to just talk about sort of that and the decision and kind of why that happened.
Yeah, so that's an interesting stat. I didn't realize about the 5-year aspect. Maybe that's why in years 6 and 7 we struggled before Sean came on, since we've been at it for 7 years.
Yeah.
For me, I started this whole journey with just trying to impact people and make a positive difference in people's lives. It was never to start a studio. It was never to be a CEO. It was never to have hundreds of employees or, 100,000 square foot of studio space. It was to impact that person who was having a bad day, who felt like their life did not pan out the way that they had hoped, that thought that maybe all they would ever be is a failure in life because that's all they've experienced so far. I want to help that person have a better day. And if that means me having a more capable CEO doing that job than me, then by all means, I am fine with stepping down from that role and letting more capable hands lead. And it truly has been magic. I was also in a unique situation, as you know, Lauren. I don't know if we were sharing our personal history here as a part
I mean,
of this pod or not.
I welcome it if you would like to. I haven't said a word.
So, I'm actually kind of grateful to Lauren as to why I have a CEO, because Jelly Smack almost acquired us last year. Was it a year ago? Yeah.
It was like a year and a half ago. Yeah. Like a year and a half ago.
2024 at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so, I was fortunate enough to meet Lauren through that whole process where for a while
and for the record, I found you. I'm the one who brought you in. Like I was like, this guy, we got to know him. Go on. Just for the record.
Yeah.
If anybody's counting.
Very first time I met Lauren and her colleague at the time, Ross, who's now our chief strategy officer. I was wearing a lion suit. So if you do have this being as a video podcast, please put that image in.
Oh my God. We definitely will. It's amazing. You were literally wearing a lion suit. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Go on.
I go through far extents to entertain my kids. And so when I say I was dressed as a lion, I'm not lying.
No, he's not. He's not.
And so that whole journey was about an 18-month process where we were in due diligence with Jelly Smack. And I was building a relationship with Sean, who was going to be my boss. And so I was very fortunate to have all this history and trust built up with somebody who later became our CEO, which is not usually the process.
No, you got to get, that's you got a dry run in some ways, to like get to know each other.
Right.
And I mean, like, it was no secret that like everybody, when we'd get off these calls, were like, these two, you just worked really well together. And it was just like, we all knew it. Yeah.
So at that time, I also wasn't kidding when I was saying we were struggling in years like 6 and 7. So our studio was coming off of the COVID high. And I think a lot of creators were just experiencing stagnant growth. And so we were in that same boat. And that's why when Jelly Smack had originally come to us interested in the acquisition, that was a time where I didn't know how to grow Dhar Mann Studios any further. I think creators have a very special ability to be scrappy, to be very fast and agile, to build a connection with their community. But we don't have the deep industry experience that Hollywood does in knowing all the different ways to monetize our IP and all the things that, are the playbooks that traditional studios have used to sort of build big business. And so I was struggling, but during that due diligence process, just by the questions that were being asked to me, I was learning so much because I realized, if Jelly Smack is asking me these questions, this is clearly what they intend to do with my studio after acquiring me. So why would I wait to be acquired to start doing these things? So I very quickly started implementing all of the advice I was getting or the questions I was being asked. And we started to see our business return to growth. And that was all based on really the relationship I was building with Ross, with Lauren, and most importantly, Sean, who I was spending a lot of time with. So it became pretty evident to me early on that Sean was just a much more seasoned, capable CEO that could take our company to new heights. And I would never let my ego go and get in the way of serving our community better. And that's exactly what Sean has done.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure you've been told this. It's unusual. Most people would let their ego get in the way. So I think it's actually like really commendable. And, not to make this a total Dhar love fest, but like truly, it was incredible to see how quickly you took kernels of ideas that based on questions and would implement it. In the next call, you'd show up and like, revenue would have gone up and all this stuff. We were like, holy shit, like these are real things that was happening. It was happening real time. It was crazy to be a part of that and really interesting. Okay, so you've stepped away from the CEO role. What are you doing right now? How's your role shifted? How are you spending your time? What do you focus on most today?
I'm doing podcasts now, if you can't tell.
I love it. I love it.
For 7 years, I've just had my head down writing scripts, and I've written almost 2,000 scripts. It's just for reference, is more than double the amount of Simpsons episodes. that, I was able to do in less than a decade. So that was exhausting. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. And so now I've had time to sort of pop my head up and just kind of talk about all the great things that my team has been accomplishing at Dhar Mann Studios. And, it's amazing because to the world, it's like, wow, look at this overnight success, right? Like they don't know the 7 years of hard work that's gone into this, where we have been mostly underground. But now I'm able to talk about it. And so being the face of the brand, being able to, participate in more strategic business decisions. We've been having incredible meetings with other founders and platforms and brands. So doing things that can help move the business forward that just wasn't possible when I was writing every single script.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting you say that about like being underground, because you really, it was crazy how big you were, how fast it happened, and how little people knew about you. Like when I found you, there was one, at least my Googling found one article on you. There was one New York Times article, and that was the only thing I could find in terms of press. Like there was nothing else. And I was like, nobody's paying attention to this. And you'd built this like giant soundstage in Burbank, and it was like, where did this guy come from, and why is nobody paying? I'm like, you know what I mean? It's like that moment you're like, is nobody else? All right, I'm going to show up because nobody else has noticed this yet. It was crazy, but also just shows like, it's interesting because like PR and all the things you're marketing, that's a job, right? And people kind of think it just happens, and it doesn't. If your head's down writing 2,000 scripts, you do not have the time to do things even like this, or, and to do all these other sort of initiatives. So it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's like that quote, when you're good at something, you tell everyone. When you're great at something, they tell you. So I'm fortunate to have built, such a great business and studio and mission that has grown over the past 7 years. But now that we're finally able to talk about it, we can come from a place of true stats as to what we've accomplished. Like you see, I think there's a lot of influencers or thought leaders who talk about the journey to success, but haven't really lived it or experienced it. You see a lot of like these types of prophets that just haven't been through the actual experience that they're preaching. But for us, we can actually talk about, hey, we have a studio of 125,000 square feet. We have over 65 standing sets, 200 employees. We have 1,500 actors that come through our doors every single year. We put out about 5 hours of premium scripted content each week. So these are just stats. These aren't things that I'm trying to toot our own horn. And so, being able to talk about the things that I want to talk about now, but by having that as my backbone, I think just helps to bring a lot more legitimacy. So I wouldn't have changed the order of things. I'm glad that everything worked out the way that it did.
So Dhar, speaking of stats, you're dominating YouTube. I mean, you're getting a couple 100 million views a month, and that's across shorts and longs. On your shorts, you're averaging about like 1 million views per short form video in the last 90 days. On longs, you're averaging like 3+ million views per long form video in the last 90 days. That's got to put you at like the top of the echelon in terms of long form content creators, especially your consistency over time. I mean, I'm looking at some data that we have on Gospel Stats, and you were averaging close to that last year and even several years ago. So you've maintained this like really high level of audience engagement and viewership. What's the future look like? Like, it feels like there's obviously deltas to go up on YouTube in terms of viewership a little bit, but not super much for you. So like, what's the future of Dhar Mann look like, and what's the growth look like?
That's a great question. So first off, I do just want to clarify that, our views are primarily long form views. We average, last month we did 1.5 billion long form views, and that's to a primarily English market, because YouTube now, when people talk about numbers, it includes short form, but it also includes international languages. So it's really hard to know like what somebody's true long form English speaking viewership is, which is what I think most like brands and,
and for the audience too, that English speaking countries get the highest AdSense on YouTube as well. So I think that's also relevant in terms of the valuation of a company. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So in terms of the future, I think a lot of people, especially creatives, are always looking at what is the new thing that we're going to jump into. Whereas for me, I always start by saying, well, can we just do more of what's already working? And, when we doubled our Facebook output, for instance, recently, we started seeing our viewership and watch time double. So there clearly is an appetite and demand just for more of the existing content that we're already putting out. And by the way, most people think of Dhar Mann content as dramas, but we actually do have other genres of content that we're creating as well. So we have action, we have horror, we have comedy, we have romance. So we're going to continue to dabble more into other genres and create more of that type of content. And then the second shift that we're doing is, up until now, everything has been built on fictional storytelling. And, fiction across any media is usually the most successful category. But because we are trying to inspire people, nonfiction stories are also just as inspiring, if not more inspiring. So I recently have shifted in my new responsibilities to focus more on vertical content. So right now we're doing horizontal long form. Now I'm also focused on vertical short form content. And one of those formats that I'm doing is nonfiction, where I'm going around interviewing, inspiring people to find out what their story is. And that is going to segment into a long form nonfiction podcast that we're actually starting to film next week and is going to launch later this year. So first thing is just doing more of what's already working, more content, more output. We're putting out about 5 hours of content a week. We're going to get to about 10 hours by the end of this year, if not early next year. Second is going into nonfiction. Third is an opportunity that I don't talk too much about, but Lauren has something to do with. We are, you look at most major media companies and they achieve critical mass through acquisitions and mergers. And so you look at Disney, they've achieved the level of success that they've had because they've been able to acquire the IP of Pixar and Star Wars and Fox and all these other incredible brands. So we are looking to follow that same playbook. And we're actually already in the process of talking to a few different creators about acquiring them. So that way Dhar Mann would be more so a family of brands as opposed to just one channel.
There was a minute where people were like, every creator should build like a business and every creator should build this huge thing. And that's absolutely not true. What it takes to be creative, and you said it earlier, and to build a business are two different skill sets. Some of them have some of that skill set and the ability to do that not. So, because I guess the question, if people listen to this and they're thinking about where they are in their business, big or small, as a creator, like, what do you think about like other creators building these kinds of bigger kind of media companies? Or do you think the move is some consolidation? You know what I mean? Like I just wonder like where you think in terms of like zooming out in the larger kind of creator economy.
One interesting analogy that I use is that, let's say you were to tell another creator and I that our objective is to try to cut down as many trees as possible in a 90-day period. And you threw us both axes. The other creator goes, okay, I'm going to start chopping away. And let's say he can chop down one tree every single day for simplicity. He's hacking away. For me, I wouldn't even pick up that axe. I would, from the very first moment, go out and start assembling a team of incredible tree cutters. I would start building a factory, building a warehouse, building a whole production line. And I would actually spend 89 of my days focused on building the machine. And then even though by that 90th day, that one creator has cut down 90 trees, in that one day alone, I would be able to have this machine that could cut down hundreds of different trees. And the reason I use that analogy is because I've always thought about, how do I build a machine? How do I build an infrastructure? Whereas most people think about, how do I build videos or a video library? I more think of, how do I build a platform? How do I build an IP machine? So to answer your question, it really just comes down to, what are your passions and what is your mission? Our mission was to help people going through a hard time. So I knew right away that I wanted to impact as many people in the world. And so it matters to me to be able to scale in order to fully realize that mission. There's other creators where I actually recommend the opposite. That if your mission is just to create art that inspires you, art is not meant to scale. What makes art so special is when it is exclusive, when there's not a high quantity. And so, yeah, it just depends on what drives you, what excites you. And for me, it's always been that bigger vision.
Well, I think candidly, that's a really good sort of pitch also up to why a creator might want to join kind of like, come inside the Dhar family, right? Like if you have that, if you don't have that operational, that doesn't excite you, like continue doing your content and then we can help you scale.
Yeah, I was talking to a creator yesterday, and this is one of the top creators on YouTube, has done billions of long form views. And when I was asking this creator how life is going, she's like, not well. And I was like, well, what's going on? She's like, man, I've just been having problems like managing my team. I have to deal with HR issues. I have to try to run our books. I'm trying to direct. I'm trying to oversee post-production. I'm trying to see thumbnails and packaging. It's all just becoming overwhelming for me. And I was like, well, what are the parts that you enjoy the most? And she said, I just love acting and being on camera. Like if I could just have nothing else to do with any of the other aspects of the business, I would love that. And so this is actually a creator that we're in the process of acquiring. And that was like the selling point for her is imagine just being able to focus on what you love and a team who clearly understands how to create YouTube content and build a direct relationship with the community is the one that's running everything behind the scenes, making it all possible for you just to focus on what you're actually passionate about. And by the way, we also know how to double or triple or quadruple your output.
Right.
So it allows you to actually achieve much bigger scale. So I think you're exactly right, Lauren, that it is a great, compelling reason for creators to want to partner with someone else who understands scale and who has done this before. Because otherwise, if you're going to sell your business as a creator to a media company who's never created an original YouTube video in the first place, that confidence level is going to be much lower versus somebody that has done something
Well,
similar
it's
to you.
also a matter, I mean, God, I love talking about this stuff. It's also a matter of like the creator understanding where their content should live. And if they're like, I just want to be on TV, which you'd be surprised, a lot of creators are just like, that's still what they want, even though we all know TV is kind of dying. And by the way, the fastest growing surface for YouTube is connected TV. So it's going to be on your TV anyway. But if they're confused about like where they sit in the sort of space, that's also like, can come into play. Josh, I know you have questions. Keep going.
Yeah. So Dhar, I think it's when you're talking about your growth of your company. I mean, if you look at it in contrast to how other creators, bigger or smaller than you, have grown, it's normally okay. They start out doing content creation, then they do some brand deals, they incorporate some merch, then they start selling products, then maybe they spin off into other channels like a podcast. It seems like you're doing bits and pieces of that, but as far as I know, you don't do a ton of brand deals. And you don't sell a ton of merch. You do have this Dhar Mann app, but tell us about like the decision-making processes about limiting the amount of brand deals you do, not selling merch, not trying to develop other products for your fan base.
We've just been very fortunate that since day one, our videos have been very viral. And so, we've been profitable since the very beginning. Our secret sauce is basically the share button because we tell emotional, impactful stories that teach life lessons. Our very early success started on Facebook just by people sharing our videos saying, hey, watch this. Like it teaches such an important life lesson. So we've been able to be so successful just off of platform revenue that we've never had to depend on brand deals in order for us to bring our creative vision to life. And in the past, brands have always been very transactional when approaching creators. We use this example often, but like Nike doesn't go to LeBron James and say, hey, we want to sponsor you to wear our Nike shoes for one game. That would feel so inauthentic. Like in order for fans to really connect with Nike and LeBron, you want to see that one candid photo where he's walking out of a coffee shop and happen to be wearing Nike shoes, because that feels like a real moment, not a polished ad. So, it's been more transactional historically where brands haven't been looking to build long-term relationships with creators. For some reason, they've just treated creators differently than they have traditional talent. But coming off of Cannes Lions, like this was the first time that I have heard that brands are totally shifting the playbook with creators. And now not only are they shifting more budget towards creators, but they're also approaching creators with longer term brand partnerships that feel a lot more authentic. So now we actually are embracing brand deals. as long as it's a fit for the audience, and there's a connection that I have with that brand, and they're in this for like the long-term vision of being able to impact people for the long run, then we actually are starting to take on brand partnerships now.
I have a question around you. You've really upped your LinkedIn posting. I've noticed. I'm loving it. And you've done a couple of posts recently, and I totally align with this, and I'd love to hear you kind of talk about it a little bit. You sort of called out Delta and I think Nike and some bigger brands saying like, you guys need a chief creator officer. I've been saying this for a really long time that like, there should be somebody inside these big Fortune whatever companies that understands this ecosystem. Like there's just no avoiding it. And I love the way you're positioning. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We're at a point in time right now where creators are becoming brands. And what we're going to see is brands becoming creators. So I was at the Century City Mall and I'm with my kids and I look around and I see a big Skim store and I see a big Good American store by Khloe Kardashian. And I see somebody walking around with an Unwell drink, a woman in her 20s by Alex Cooper.
Alex Cooper.
And I see another teenage boy drinking Prime. And I'm like, these are all brands that have been built by creators. So clearly creators are taking a chapter out of the brand playbook and just creating their own products. But we haven't seen so much of the reverse. And I think that's the future. So when I met with some different CMOs in Cannes, one of the number one things I was hearing was that paid media is not working. Earned media is also dying. But owned media is the future, where brands aren't trying to rent audiences anymore. They want to actually own their audiences. How do you do that? You actually create content. So I'm sitting with the SVP of this big financial services company. He's giving me this pitch about how they're going to start creating YouTube content. So I'm like, great. What is your budget per video? What is your ideal like click-through rate you're trying to achieve? What is the retention rate? What is your posting cadence? I just start asking basic questions that any creator can answer.
Their minds, their like steam started coming out of his ears a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. And so right away, he's like, oh my God, I hadn't thought about all these different things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is why you need to work with creators, because we understand storytelling in a way that connects with audiences all over the world in an organic way. And by the way, we can also do it at a fraction of the cost of whatever traditional media is going to cost you. So I very much so, we've already seen creators becoming brands. I think more brands are going to become creators. I think the brands that have had very successful content strategies, such as Poppy, who just exited for a couple $2 billion to Pepsi, we're going to start to see more brands embracing that. And in order to be successful at creating content that resonates with the masses, you have to tap into the magic that creators have.
I agree. Well, Dhar Mann, this has been so great. I'm so excited. I would love to like have check-ins and have you come on because I just think what you're building is so interesting. And how you're thinking about the industry at large is so interesting. And I'm so excited to perhaps be like a small, teeny part of what's happening in the future. But where can everybody find your content just in case they don't know?
Thanks. You can just look me up, Dhar Mann. We're on every platform, but more importantly, check out Creator Upload wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had a guest like push us, Josh. This is
that's
amazing.
great. Yeah, love it. Sorry,
we are on the same team here, Lauren.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And thanks for not buying our company, Lauren.
No problem. Yeah, anytime. I'm here to serve. All right, awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again, Dhar, for being on the podcast. I have had the opportunity to spend a decent amount of time with him. He mentioned some of the work we, almost did together at Jelly Smack. And he just always amazes me with honestly, he's incredibly articulate. He's very, he's got big ideas that he executes upon. And he's just kind of inspiring to be around. And it's really, really cool to see what he's building. And I get to, view it from a little bit of an insider's lens lately. So it's very cool.
Dude seems to really get it. Also, when he said he was wearing a lion suit when you first met, I thought he meant he skinned a lion.
No,
he was wearing a lion, a suit made out of lions.
He was literally wearing like a lion, like a full-on onesie lion suit with a tail. And then he took us on a tour of his studio in the lion suit. Like there was no like, I'm going to get out of the lion suit. Like it was just full lion suit. Like I'm going all in and are you guys cool with this? And we're like, never been cooler. Like
That's a great power move.
it was amazing. It was
He
amazing.
should sell lion suits to like hustle bros online. Be fantastic side business star.
Yeah, that'd be great. Josh, you want to get to some uploads and downloads? I will start. Apparently, Prime Day is here, and Amazon is doubling its creator commissions for Prime Day. Rumor has it, according to TubeFilter, that this is likely due to the uncertainty of TikTok Shops. This is another example of other platforms taking advantage of the uncertainty around TikTok and what's going to happen. So these high commissions will be in place July 1 through 20. And it's not going to be on every product, but they're going to give commissions on about 13 products, categories like beauty, home, cooking, dining, toys, and games. Which I feel like, are there any other categories? Like that seems, the commissions will go from about 4% to 8% or 3 to 6%, and in some instances from 10 to 12%. It sort of depends on the product, but yeah, I think it's really cool. I think it's a move. You jump on at Amazon. I've always said forever that I don't understand why Amazon hasn't bought TikTok. I can't imagine that conversation hasn't happened, but they seem most poised to take advantage of this opportunity in shopping.
It's a really smart move too from Amazon to take advantage of a pre-existing moment in the calendar year where they're doing a ton of marketing and then seeing what kind of traction they can get among creators that I'm guessing is going to inform a lot of their future activity in this space.
Absolutely.
Lauren, quick upload from another titan, Cenat's Toned product. He created Toned with his power group of streamers AMP. That includes Cenat, Duke Dennis, Phantom, Agent 00, Chris Next Door, and I'm Davis. They are releasing into Targets across the country a collection of body lotions, deodorants, and lip balms. Again, it's called Toned. Will be cool to see how this one checks out. And also Target's just basically becoming a like as seen on the internet store.
The internet, yeah. For those that don't know, as seen on TV used to be like a thing.
Yeah.
They would see in stores. All right, Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you just walking around with some type of humidifier at all times wherever you are now, just to get that kind of Florida glow.
Josh, you'll always be a titan to me.
And if not there next week. That Titan part really threw me off. It's rare I get even a sarcastic compliment from you. If not there, see you next week on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.